Hey guys, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we're going to discuss the fourth book in the Vampirate book series written by the one and only Justin Sumper. Blackheart. Vampirates Blackheart. I used my There Will Be Blood, Blood of Olympus bookmark, courtesy of Rick Riordan. Not from him directly, but it was in one of the books. Because it's appropriate. Blood of Olympus, There Will Be Blood. Vampires, there's blood all around. Get it? So punny. I know. This book, when did this come out? I don't remember. 2010 maybe? It's 2008, England, US edition, April 2009. I was close. So much goes on in this book, just like so much went on in the third book, and the second and the first, right? These books are soap operas, but in a horror sense, and in a supernatural sense, and in an awesome action adventure sense. I remember distinctly that my review for the third book turned out to be over a half hour long. We're not going to do that this time, but we're going to try to cram as much information as possible into this fourth book that is awesome. And here we go. So the book starts out, you have Barbara Rath, I'm sorry, I can't talk, and Mucho and Rath doing some family game night thing on their ship, and then this new villain comes about. Her name is Lady Lola Lockwood, known as Blackheart, hence the title of the book. She's got a black heart tattoo on her head. Her calling card is the Queen of Hearts, but it's black, right? She has all of her, not minions, but crew members, different lieutenants, etc., lines of duty, has the same black heart tattoo around their eye, same calling card, very persuasive individual. So they board the Rath's ship in order to get Trophy Rath's golden hand, which they do eventually get. So then there's more wars against the Vampirates, the pirates against the Vampirates. It just continues, but it's now a different renegade group of Vampirates. So you have the Vampirates on the Nocturne, you have the Vampirates at the Sanctuary, you have the Vampirates who escaped the Sanctuary and the Nocturne to join the renegade group led by Sidorio from Roman times, right? Jez Stukely is still awesome. You have Johnny Desperado, who they're both Sidorio's lieutenants aboard the Blood Captain, which was not a refurbished prison ship, but they took over a prison hull ship and, created their own vampirate crew, basically. So Johnny and Jez are very much a dynamic duo throughout this book. And it's fun seeing, because I like the two of them. I like their characters a lot. It's really cool seeing their past, seeing the dynamic that they have in the present, along with, the scandals about who's interacting with who when, and we'll talk more about that. So you also have Chang Li, Mistress Li, as one of the main characters as well. She's finally being deputized as captain. You have Connor and Grace Tempest, of course. Grace and Connor start out in the book at the Sanctuary, because the last thing that we saw them with, they were as the Sanctuary because the captain was releasing the souls that were trapped inside of him, thanks to Mosh Su, the vampirate guru. So one of the souls happened to be their mother, Sally. That's how the third book ends. We talked about that. So Sally is trying to tell Grace and Connor, her story, but Connor doesn't want to hear it, and anytime Sally really gets into it, she always gets exhausted because she is on limited energy. Let me emphasize that. Limited. So Connor eventually is like, you know what, Grace, I can't deal with this. You got all these theories in your mind. You're too involved in these vampire creatures that I'm out. I'm done. So he runs away, joins Chang Li's crew after Chang Li, eventually approves of him to join the crew. So the two of them go to Landau, which is this place where they meet Master Yin, who's a master sword builder, because she needs swords. I'm sorry, this actually happened in the last book. I'm remembering that Landau actually is revisited again, but that's because of Connor and Jasmine. I kind of jumped the gun. So there's a lot of story going on with Connor. There's a lot of story going on with Chang Li and the crew of the Tiger, which is the ship that she is now in control of. Jacoby Blunt and Jasmine Peacock are back, graduated students of Pirate Academy, now aboard on higher ranking statuses on Chang Li's ship. You have Grace's stories going on with the Vampirates. You have Sidorio's story going on with his crew on the Blood Captain. But then you also have Lady Lola Lockwood's story going on with her crew on the Vagabond. So lots of story going around everywhere, and it jumps from one to the other to the other. There was one point where there was like 5 chapters in a row that it was 5 separate stories going on, and you have to pay attention, because if you don't pay attention, you'll be like, wait a minute, what just happened? But the way Justin writes, it keeps you intrigued. So it's not a matter of forgetting information. And to be completely honest, because the holidays are here, and like the fall and winter time is always very busy for me with Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas. It took me a while to finish reading the 504 pages. I also got a new job. I was laid off one job. I got another job. I got a raise in that job. A lot's been going on. So I had a day off. I made sure to dedicate myself to finishing this book, so that way all the info was here. Where should I continue? Let's see. So the main plot premise of this story is, aside from Sally trying to get Grace to understand her and Connor's backstory, right? Their connection to the vampire world, the vampirate world. We also have Lady Lola Lockwood committing a crime. She and her crew aboard the Vagabond wind up killing Commodore John Quo, who is, the headmaster of the Pirate Academy. They kill John, they kill Zach and Varsha, who are 2 other students. There's a captain's race that happens, for every captain induction thing. So during Chang Li's induction ceremony, there was a race, and Quo, Zach, and Varsha never made it back, so there was a search party, and it turns out that John was eventually put back in his cabin, back in his office, drained of blood, which I instantly always get, flashbacks to Scream Queens Season 2 of one of the Chanels getting drained of blood. It's very similar. It's very raisiny. There's a good image in my mind. Holding a black heart card. But the concept of Lola is, she is just off to serve chaos. She tracks down the Blood Captain ship, and they basically get the information of where the Blood Captain's going to go next to get more blood for, so everybody can go ravenous and hunt, through 2 of her deputies, crewmates. I don't know I think they're deputies, seducing basically Johnny and Jez into getting the information of where the ship's going next. So eventually Lady Lola meets Siddario, and then the Pirate Federation actually pins the murder of John Quo and the students on Siddario, not Lady Lola. So she kind of sails free for a bit, which is what she wanted. But she didn't plan on falling head over heels for Siddario, and Siddario didn't plan on falling head over heels for Lola. So it was a very interesting dynamic of having these 2 ravenous monsters show very affectionate sides to each other. And what's really cool about this book is that this is the 4th book out of 6, right? Lola is a main character, a main villain, and she's introduced in the 4th book. Not many books do that. Normally, you have your main villain throughout an entire series represented in the 1st book, somehow, whether by name, whether by scene, whether by battle, whatever. You never, ever see a main villain or villainess being introduced in the 4th out of 6th book as a main character, as a main aspect of what needs to happen and how the plot's moving forward. But she's very important because it brings more of the supernatural side to the world that Justin has created. We've mentioned many a times before, Justin talks about the metaphysics, he talks about clairvoyancy, he talks about astral projecting, empathy. Lots of metaphysics go into this book series, and this book was a prime of that. At one point, Lola is stirring blood in a, glass, and she creates this maelstrom outside, which is what actually is the reason why John Quo, Zach, and Varsha's skiff, was damaged, and they aborted the Vagabond thinking safe passage when it was actually their doom. But we kind of knew when Connor and crew attempted to kill the renegade vampires that first time with fire, that there was some kind of supernatural aspect aside from them being just vampires to them. How did Siddario and how did Jess Kelly survive the fire when the other 3 vampires didn't? So it was interesting seeing a lot of the supernatural stuff. We get a lot more into Grace and Connor's history, which we will talk about very briefly, but I do want to mention some other little tiny things. I loved that the main leader of the Pirate Federation, who then had to take up the stand because Janko was killed, Ahab Black, gives Cheng Li this like puzzle to figure out to like get the clues in this hidden cache under the rotunda of the Pirate Federation. So they had to figure out this puzzle. It was Cheng Li, Connor, Jacoby, and Jasmine. I figure out this puzzle, put the puzzle in the octopus mosaic in the rotunda, and then they go into the secret cache to find all of the history worth of Vampirate notes. So Cheng Li's mission now on the Tiger, our first mission as a captain, is the Tiger has become a Vampirate hunting vessel, basically. So they had to collect their research, and of course Connor's conflicted because Grace is still involved in the vampire world, and he's pretty much just focused on the pirate world. They eventually find information. It turns out her father, Cheng Li's father, Janko Li, also had encounters with vampirates. So it wasn't so far-fetched, and many a centuries worth of notes was collected. Connor, Jacoby, and Jasmine were doing experiments on some vampires to figure out what would weaken them, what would work to destroy them, not to kill them because they were already technically dead. According to, Jacoby's fun little things. Jacoby Blunt's a funny character, by the way. Thank you, Justin, for him. Jacoby's smart. He's a smart character. You have Connor flirting with Jasmine. You have Jasmine flirting with Connor, even though Jasmine's still with Jacoby. Jasmine and Connor have to go to Landau to get more swords made of silver, and then dipped in hawthorn, the wood hawthorn, and wolfsbane, because those 3 together is a vampire destroying mechanism. Note my air quotes. So in Landau, Jasmine and Connor share a little kiss thing. Master Yin's daughter, Bo, happens to stow away with her Ai, which is a lemur rat-looking thing native to Madagascar named Sinbad. So she happens to wind up on the Tiger ship as well because she's always wanted to be a pirate. Lot happens. What else? Okay, so we eventually learn in simplification terms. Obviously, this is a spoiler alert galore for this particular book series every time I talk about it. Connor and Grace are half vampire, half human. Their father, Dexter, is not technically their blood father, but he did raise them. Dexter met Sally on the shore one day. It was a red and white blanket involved and a picnic, and Sally swam out to meet him, and he swam in to meet her, and they met, and it was adorable. It was an adorable meet cute. That's the term, meet cute. Great. So then Dexter eventually joins the Nocturne because Sally was a donor on the Nocturne. That's the other thing. Dexter joins the Nocturne as not a cook. What the kid in the kitchen? I don't know the term. Something lad? I don't know. The kid who works in the kitchen. That's what Dexter became, prior to our first story actually beginning. Siddario turned out to be the vampirate partner of Sally. Sally was Siddorio's donor, but Siddario turns out was madly in love with Sally, and then when he found out that Sally wanted to run away with Dexter and got the blessing from the captain to actually do so, he was furious. He got a voodoo priestess to do a spell so that way she became pregnant with his kids. You got all of this supernatural stuff going on. So you have Lady Lola Lockwood as some sort of, not sorceress, but she has some kind of, I can't even say witchcraft. I could say witchcraft. Some sort of witchcraft, right? She's some kind of vampire witch combo who's also a pirate. I'll give her that. But then you have this voodoo priestess who's enacting this spell. So a lot of things happen, but that's the thing. Not all vampires know other forms of magic, if you will. They don't know other spells to do things. Siddario becomes powerful with fire for some reason. Lady Lola can create weather storms and then other things as we learn in future books, which is an interesting factor because she technically dies twice in this book. Because Siddario was in love with Sally, and then there was a lie constructed between Lorcan, the guru of the Vampirates, and the vampire captain himself. Once Sidorio found out that they all lied and said that one baby had died and that there wasn't actually another one, he freaked out, attacked Sally, and then Sally's soul was absorbed into the captain, and then Dexter eventually had to be told that Sally wouldn't make it to Crescent Moon Bay. So that's that little wrapping up, but we don't get that until like the last 3 chapters of this book. Afterwards, Lady Lola Lockwood and Sidorio are to be wed, but you have Chang Li making an arrangement with Jez and Johnny to assassinate Lady Lola Lockwood at the wedding. And you're like, where is this coming from? These people are betraying everyone they know. Jez and Stu Kelly don't want Lady Lola in the picture because they want to hold the ranking title right under Sidorio for a Roman fleet, quote unquote, of blood captain ships. Chang Li needs information in regards to how to defeat the Vampirates, and by Jez and Johnny actually feeding her that information, it helps pursue her cause. You also have Lorcan warning Chang Li at one point within that secret cache, which was awesome because it was the first time that those characters actually interact with each other. Super, really awesome. That was a horrible way to say that. Super, really awesome. I'm excited, obviously. But then you also have Cutlass Kate making arrangements with Chang Li in order to leave Maluko's ship briefly in order to come onto the Tiger with Bartholomew, the great Bartholomew that he is, in order to create these different strategies to attack the Vampirates, these renegade Vampirates, because there's 4 different Vampirate things going on. The other interesting factor, we talked about voodoo priestesses, we talked about witchcraft, but this wolfsbane stuff comes up when they're researching other things in regards to silver. That silver and wolfsbane is known to affect werewolves, so it could technically affect vampires, which it then does, as their experiments then prove. So you have werewolves in this universe as well, which are technically not mentioned, which would be awesome. But how would a werewolf fare on the ocean sea? Like, I get it. You're dealing with witchcraft, you're dealing with gurus, you're dealing with vampires on pirate ships. I get it. There's a lot going on, but it makes sense in this supernatural universe, 500 years in the future, all because of the massive floods. Makes sense. Blah. Justin's so creative when he's just tying all of this historical accuracy when it comes to mythology of certain vampire creed, of certain witchcraft creed, coming together to create an eloquent, tragically detailed story. Like I said, you kind of have to pay attention, but again, it keeps up with itself. These characters always interact with each other. So, the finalness of the story, Grace is aware of her Grace is aware of the true aspect of her birth. Grace and Lorcan finally get together. So you have Jasmine and Connor kissing, you have Grace and Lorcan kissing, you have Sidorio and Lola kissing at their wedding, and then Connor eventually stabs Lola through the heart, which does briefly kill her, but not really. And then Connor eventually decapitates her, so then Lola's head poetically rolls down the cliff and plunges into the sea, but Sidorio dives to get it, and then holds it, and then Chang Li throws the trump card that she's been dying to throw this entire time after her conversation with Lorcan, and she happened to get a letter that he mistakenly dropped out of his pocket that provided the information of Connor and Grace's creation through witchcraft, through a voodoo spell from mortal mother and vampire father. She said to leave Connor alone because he's his son, and that eventually she'll arrange a meeting between him and the twin Grace, that he has a right, but she doesn't really care, but she does care. It was a little over the place, but it worked because she's a master of persuasion. That she got what she wanted. She wanted Connor out. She wanted Sidorio to suffer. That her main objective was to kill John Coe's killer. And it was done. Connor decapitated Lady Lola Lockwood. But is she still dead? Because this girl knows witchcraft. So is it possible that she put some kind of spell on herself prior to being decapitated? Eventually, when we get to book 5, we will discuss that, because things happen. The series is awesome. It's fun. It's fresh. It makes you think. So supernatural because it's not just diving on one myth of vampire. It's diving on many myths of supernatural as a whole. Another thing I loved is that Oscar the donor gets together with Lorcan at the end as his new donor. And it was fun seeing it because Oscar and Lorcan had been friends for a long time, because Sally and Lorcan and Oscar were friends for a long time, along with Teresa. And it's just fun seeing the different histories all tied together. And Lola's even from Cleopatra time, when Siddario's from Caesar's time. It's really, really smart. Really, really smart. I'm never not going to be impressed. And when you read these books, you have to picture it like you're watching Game of Thrones. That the story keeps jumping, but they're all tied together because it's the same universe, and eventually the characters do cross paths. I can tell you, that rendezvous with Kate at Monkenel's Tavern, with Sugar Pie giving her that mead, awesome. And then, again, just Jez Stu Kelly and Johnny Desperado tricking Cheng Li to get in a boat and just having a talk with her of who's betraying who, really. It was so cool. So cool seeing all these characters interact with each other. Job well done, Justin. Job well done. And that's it. That's all I got. We have 2 more books to go over. I'm going to wait until after the holidays to start that, because that one I need to pay attention to again. I love these books. I just need the time to sit and to focus, because there's a lot of information that I need to now remember as I then retell it all to you. I kind of feel like I might have jumped a bit, but I wasn't at the same time, because that's exactly how these books go. They jump. They jump. And all the information's there, and it's beautiful, and it's poetic, and it's awesome, and it's filled with blood. There will be blood. That's all I got. What do you guys think of this series? I'm clearly a fan, and you should be too. Mucho mahalo, guys.